What is going on, y'all? So let's get this thing going. If you guys stay to the end, right, there's going to be some sauce for you guys on how you can really lay the foundation to get 50, 100, $250,000 of funding, right? Getting extra gunpowder for you to use towards your investments, towards your dreams, towards anything that you want to that will make you money or help to do it in the process. So stay to the end for that. But really, what I'm going to explain to you is the foundation of what the financial system is on and how you can get access to those things, but the foundation of pretty much everything in the world. So I'm just going to share my screen real quick. I'll get to that and just give you a visual of things that you can follow along when I'm talking about. This is the credit matrix that I made for you guys on Canva, right? So the two things that you see outside of personal credit are business credit and just additional lending options. You will not have access to that, at least good limits and good amounts and good options and good rates, if you don't build the foundation on concrete and with your personal credit. The reason why I want to talk about this is I talk to a lot of young kids who are trying to get into online business and who are trying to apply to business credit cards. And for whatever reason, right, they don't have the knowledge and understanding that your personal credit is the resume for you to receive any additional lending for your business, right? You have to have a strong foundation on the personal credit side and a strong mix and a strong age and strong credit limits there to be able to ever get high limits on the business side. So the majority of this conversation is going to be about personal credit and the things that you need to understand and know before accessing and moving on to the next tier of business credit, and then from there to additional lending. The biggest reason why businesses fail and why they can't get to the next level is because it's a lack of funding. People are using their own personal cash flow to be able to put into investments, to be able to put into scaling their business, marketing, etc. And that's the biggest reason why they're not successful, because they don't know how to access this code, right? So what I want to touch on, like I said, is the personal credit side of things. When you apply to a credit card, they pull from three bureaus, depending on your location and depending on the bank. Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Those are the three main bureaus, right? There's a fourth bureau that's kind of gaining some steam called Novus, but those are the three that will factor into your acceptance. Now, when it comes to personal credit, I say this with 100% certainty that you need to follow this. Do not use credit irresponsibly. Please use it responsibly. Do not use it if you are not going to be able to pay it off. That is not what it's used for whatsoever. Okay. It is used for your advantage. Okay. Do not use it to pay off stuff that you're not going to be able to pay. People use credit so irresponsibly. That's how they dig themselves in holes. That's how people get in crazy amount of debt and they screw themselves. Okay. Use it responsibly, please. This information is meant to provide you a blueprint that you can use for 6 to 18 months so that when you do want to start a business, when you do want to scale your business, you can do so and receive the financing and the lending that is possible, right? Okay. So when I talk about personal credit, this is personal credit cards. This is comparable like credit loans, which is anything like student loans, mortgages, car loans, like I said, personal loans, things of that sort. Okay. The main things that go into your credit score. So a lot of these young kids will say, hey, I have like a 760 credit score, right? But they have one card with a 2.5K on it. So think about this scenario. If you want to go into a bank and they check your credit report and they see that you only have 2.5K of limits, what makes you think that they are going to lend you 25K or 50K? Okay. They aren't, because you don't show them that they can trust you with that amount of money. Key piece there. Okay. The second thing to think about as well is if you had an additional $200,000 right now, you'd probably screw yourself over. Most people, when they have this additional capital, which I call additional gunpowder, they do not know what to do with it. They don't know how to use it responsibly. So when you go to sector 2 and sector 3 down this financing hole, you need to have a plan and you need to know it's going to work. Yeah. So now back into what goes into your personal credit score. For one, as you see, the top two, payment history and utilization, take up 65% of your score. If you screw these things over, your score will plummet from a 700 to a 500. you will not be able to get any products, right? You're going to have to go to credit repair. These are high priority. So payment history is, like it says, it's showing you that you have made payments on time, consistently, all the time. This is why you don't want to use credit irresponsibly, because if you use credit irresponsibly and you get late payments, this is one of the hardest things to get off your report are late payments. Okay. So when you open up credit, when you open up anything, make sure that you always have auto pay on. And if for whatever reason you're struggling, make sure you have the auto pay for minimum payment at least. Do not get a late payment on your credit report. Okay. Payment history. Utilization. Okay. Utilization is the amount of money you technically owe, but it's the amount that is floating on your balances. So for example, if you have a 10K credit card and you use up $5,000 a month on it, that is 50% utilization. Okay. Banks do not like it when you're over 20%. I prefer when you're applying to products that you're under 10% utilization. Okay. So this is also the important thing of having higher credit limits and multiple cards, because it spreads out your utilization and it shows the banks, hey, we can trust this guy because he has higher credit limits on his report. We can likely lend him more money because he is responsible. He or she is responsible. Okay. The third piece is length of credit history. So this is how old your credit age is. So for an example of credit history, right? Credit history is essentially, let's take 3 cards. One of those cards you've had for 5 years. One of those cards you have had for 2 years, and another card you've had for a year. The way you get length of credit history is that you add up all that, 5 plus 2 plus 1 equals 8, and then you divide it by 3. That gives you your average credit age. So for an example, that would be like 2.6, 2.7 years of average credit age. A lot of people who are young, right, don't have credit cards when they're 16, 17. They typically start getting them in their older teens and their 20s. So a good way to somewhat help you out and stiffen up your personal credit report is going to be getting an AU, an authorized user. The best scenario for you guys to get an authorized user, I don't recommend buying them from just random people online. Recommend finding a friend, an older friend, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins who have a history with a credit card that has 100% payment history. They are a responsible payer, and likely that age of their card is over 5 years. If it's over 10, amazing. Okay, you can add yourself as an authorized user. All they have to do is go into their account, add you authorized user, bang. And then now you get to basically take over their payment history and their credit age, and it helps thicken up your profile. Because if you have 3 new cards in the last year, which we'll talk about on number 4 with new credit, 3 new cards in the last year, right? Your credit age is not going to be very strong. So adding an AU or thicken that up can help you out there. Now the 4th piece is new credit. Okay. If you've applied to 5 cards in the last year, likely you won't get accepted for all 5 of those because they've seen all the inquiries on the report that they're all very recent. Another red flag to banks is, hey, they've applied to a lot of credit over the last 6 to 12 months. They might be in trouble. They might not be responsible for us to lend to, so we're going to deny you. Okay. So having a lot of inquiries on your report, especially recent inquiries, is a factor that they pull and take in. And that is even some of the things on your personal credit report are some of the things that are a little bit more important when you are applying towards business credit. Okay. So new credit, that's why typically if you are filling up your personal credit and you're trying to thicken up your profile and lay the foundation on cement, not quicksand, because if you don't do this, guys, everything will fall apart later on. You're going to be sitting there questioning why you're getting 2K limits and why you're getting low limits, why you're getting denied if you don't focus on this personal credit side of things, which I'm talking about to you right now. So new credit, right? Typically you can apply to business credit stuff after 6 months, 12 months is even better. So new credit, if you have a ton of inquiries over a short period of time, it's a red flag. The last and final piece that goes into your credit score is credit mix. So this is a mix of not just credit cards, but comparable loans, comparable credit, which is, like I said, student loans, personal loans, car loans, mortgages, things like that. So they want to see that you have a mix of options, a mix of credit and a mix of lending. Okay. So a lot of people will not have, they might have student loans on their report, but student loans, especially now that you have noticed, we haven't been paying them for the last three years or so. So it is not considered as healthy to have just a student loan in your account. So it's important to have a car loan. Recently, I paid off a car loan about a year and a half ago, and I only had student loans in my account. So what I did was I added some more comparable credit with Navy Federal secured savings, and I can make a separate video on that. And on the other stuff, the additional line of business credit stuff, that is all separate stuff. Like I said, I'm not going crazy deep into this because this is a rabbit hole of finance information in the banking industry. I'll for sure make a video on the banking industry, the Fed, the FOMC, the central banking system, things like that, because that is something we should all know about. But like I said, it's a mix of credit. So those are the 5 factors: payment history, utilization, length of credit history, new credit, and credit mix. 2 most important things that you don't want to mess around with are payment history and utilization. Like I said, they cover about 65% of your score. So if you do not build this up, like I said, it'll be on quicksand. So you want to make sure you spend the 6 months to 18 months making sure that your personal credit is strong and foundational, because it will only offer you benefits and opportunities further down the line. An example of this is people take terrible car loans that don't make any sense because they have bad credit and they're making crazy payments. They go into debt off of those payments, right? If you have good credit history and you know that, and you have a good credit report and it's stacked up, you have all the negotiating power in the world with the car companies and things of that sort. But I also recommend make sure that you get car leases through credit unions. Their rates are much better, but you have negotiating power with them. So that's just an example. Now, the second piece, which is what everyone wants, is business credit. This is the second piece, the second fold. Let's say you did this, you built up your credit report. You have a strong credit foundation. Now, business credit, when trying to invest, this is a great option when trying to invest in yourself, when trying to learn a new skill, okay? When trying to invest in your business, because 0% credit cards have 0% APR for typically anywhere from 6 months to 12 months, and you only have to pay 2% of that balance, okay? So, for an example, if I get $10,000 on a 0% credit card, it's 1 to 2% that you have to pay depending on the bank. I only have to pay $100 to $200 a month if I max out that card, right? Make sure you make those payments, those minimum payments, even on the business credit side. Because an example for business credit is if you only have 20K limits, they're not going to give you high limits on the business credit side. So that's why you need to foster good banking relationships, banking with certain banks, depending on the bank, having credit cards with those banks, because now they trust you. They've had you in their system. They know that you make payments. They know that you have money coming in and out, right? They're willing to give you more money. And then having higher credit limits on the personal side, let's say 100K total credit limits, they're likely to give you a $15, $25, $45, $50,000 on one card. Because if you apply to business credit without having a foundation of your personal credit set up, they're going to give you a 2K limit. And if you keep applying to cards, you're going to get 2 or 3K limits, or you're likely going to get denied. And you just wasted 5 cards that could have had 20K limits on it. The difference is you had over 5 cards, you might end up with 10K total limits. That doesn't allow you to scale much in a business. That doesn't allow you to invest in much and learn new skills. And that's in this day and age, y'all. You'd much rather have 100K. Okay? So there are tons of cards and there's tons of lending options in the business credit side of things. High limits are important. So build the personal credit side of things. Yes, there are business bureaus at some point, and that's why we'll get into the additional lending factor now. Okay? So there are business credit bureaus. The important thing about business credit bureaus is when you make these payments on some of these cards, they will report to those bureaus, giving you a business credit score similar to your personal credit. When you apply to business credit and you apply to business lending, they still pull your personal credit. That's why it's important. They still pull from your personal credit. Now, when you've done enough business stuff on the business credit side and you have different trade lines and you've made your payments, you start building up a business credit score. Okay. That's what goes into additional lending options. So HELOCs and loans, right? Different lending options, better rates, same exact scenario. Some things are 0%. Rates are much lower. They can be. But at that point, when you're getting additional lending options, you want to make sure that your business has proved itself, that you are making money, that you have money coming in. Because this way you can bypass, if for whatever reason you apply to things, you can bypass that. And you can show them financial statements of you bringing in $50,000 a month or spending, you're spending 30 grand a month in your business. And that allows them to give you more money because they see it, proof with paper. Everything before that, the business credit cards, that's your way into the game without having to prove that your business makes money. Okay. So these additional lending options, business lines of credit, these different loans and lending options allow you to scale. Okay. By showing your financial statements. That is helpful as well. An example of this would be speaking to a guy who owns a construction company. He has been stuck with scaling his business because he can't do bigger projects. When it comes to bigger projects, you make bigger profit, you have higher margins. If you don't have the lending available to your business because of the personal credit isn't set up properly, you haven't applied to different business credit cards and gotten good high limits, right? You don't have the ability to do a $5 million project because you only have access to $50,000 in capital. So you're stuck doing fix and flips. You're stuck doing smaller projects. When you have access to additional lending, when you can get a line of credit for $1 million, when you can get a line of credit for $500,000, when you can get loans for $5 million, you're able to get access and get jobs that are $10 million projects, that are $5 million projects, that are multiple $1 million projects. And the margins on bigger projects are larger. That's more profit in your pocket. Okay. So hopefully that explains things a little bit better. Hopefully that is just an understanding of pretty much the credit matrix. This is the credit pyramid because everything starts with personal credit, and why I want to talk about how that is so important, how you need to focus on that. You can't just try to rush into additional financing options when you don't have the resume to prove it. It's an empty resume. It's blank. No bank is going to give you high lending options, high credit limits, lower percentage loans if you don't have the resume to show that you are a proper borrower, that you make your payments on time, that you can show you have high limits and you responsibly pay them and work with the banks. So personal credit, business credit, additional lending, the business credit side of things, the additional lending side of things, those are completely separate videos. The main focus of this is to show you how important personal credit is and why you need to focus on that now. You may not have a business now. You may not ever want to have a business. But if you focus on the personal credit stuff, opening up the right cards, building the foundation, making it strong, making it stable, at some point you might change your mind in the future. You might have a realization, hey, I want to do something. Hey, I want to learn something and build a new skill. I want to get new knowledge and I want to utilize the money from the banks to do it instead of the money I have in my bank. The bank will give me 50 grand to do something that I don't have to use the capital that I use to live and provide experiences with myself. I'm going to use it. Absolutely. Okay. But make sure that you do your due diligence on what you're investing in and what you're doing first, so you don't get stuck in a hole. But 6 to 12 months gives you a lot of leeway to be able to make something happen and be able to create something really cool. So with the personal credit side, and I love the travel hacking stuff. I love utilizing points because you get so much more value out of it than cash back. The types of cards that you use on the personal credit side, which is why it's also important, is you can earn points off of what you spend and on sign-up bonuses, and you can straight up travel for free. You can get $20,000 trips and spend less than you would on a freaking round trip ticket in the US. So I love that because it provides experiences. You can be a normal person and you can utilize credit cards the right way and be able to bring experiences to yourself, your family, your wife, your kids for free that you would never pay cash for. $8, $10, $15,000 first class tickets around the world with points. So that's another fantastic thing about utilizing personal credit and doing it the right way. So that is kind of the credit matrix explanation for you guys. Let me know if there's anything that you have questions about, anything you want me to dive a little bit deeper into. Hit me in the comments if you like the video, if it's valuable to you. Hit the like button, subscribe, do whatever. I will make additional videos on this stuff, but this is a key factor and important factor in your success with the banking industry. This runs the world. The banking industry runs the world. Everything that goes on is controlled by these banks. And if you can do something with them, if you can do something to, right, create a better scenario for yourself, you need to understand this stuff. So let's end it there, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate the time. We'll talk to you guys soon.